welcome to Bitcoin and me, Dunc from the Solo Mining Company.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you on. We met at the BSE conference almost a month ago now. For anyone that isn't aware of what you are and what you do in the space, do you want to give just a little brief overview?
Yeah, sure thing. So my name is Duncan. Well, that's what my mum and my wife call me. But to the online space, I go by the name IMGPIO. It's a design name, but you can call me Dunc, Duncan, IMGPIO, whatever you like. I've been in the Bitcoin space since 2011. It was the mining side that hooked me. And actually, like most people have the kind of their interest and their trends, and they kind of lose interest. Actually, all that's happened from 2011 to now is I've just got more interested. And actually now it's not just about the mining, it's about the, I guess it's the aesthetics of home mining, and the fact that, we'll touch on this later, I'm sure, but for home mining to exist everywhere, it needs to either have utility or be beautiful. And that's what kind of, as a product designer, that's what kind of draws me in. Bitcoin mining is its passion, the design side, because it's a passion, putting it all together and making cool stuff. But that's me.
I think you brought that to the stage as well. You had utility and you were beautiful, Dunc. So, it was perfect. The bromance between you and Russ, he's a man obsessed now.
I told Russ not to tell anyone about our bromance. He's my guy.
I'm sorry, but yeah, he doesn't call you hunky dunky for nothing, does he? But yeah, I can't believe you hadn't actually met, had you, before?
No, not
hadn't
at all.
actually met, which is unbelievable, really.
Yeah, no, we'd had one probably 20-minute video call about 2 weeks before, just to say, hey, I'm Russ, I'm Dunc. What are we going to talk about? I don't know. We'll just kind of talk from the heart and roll with it. And that was it. The next time we saw each other was like literally when we walked past each other in the foyer. When I sat down with him at our first talk about kind of home Bitcoin mining, that was the second time I'd actually ever physically seen him.
Blimey, yeah.
But yeah, he's a great guy. And he's an asset.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Indeed. And the two of you together are just unstoppable. Not from a kind of bromance perspective, but from a great minds thinking about Bitcoin mining, definitely.
Well, I do look forward actually to kind of more open mic, open heart, open table discussions with him, because, he is a great guy. He's got, great insight, great knowledge, great passion, great enthusiasm. And actually with all of that, you put lots of that in a room with like-minded people, only greatness can come out. So
100%, absolutely. Yeah, no,
hi Ross.
That's really good to hear. Yeah, he'll have this video just on repeat. I think this will be his go-to YouTube video now. There you go.
Just frame that. That's just for you.
Yeah. So the first question I ask my guests is what their earliest memories of money are. So what was that for you? Yeah. So obviously, it's a Bitcoin podcast. I know your angle for Bitcoin is more about mining than number go up, but yeah, just that's
okay. Pre-Bitcoin, my first thing of money I remember specifically. I grew up in Texas, as you can tell with my lovely accent, and I remember my grandfather coming over when I was 4 or 5. Grandfather's British, and he said to me, it might have been 6, but anyway, he said, "Let's have a lemonade stand," and I was like, "You what?" In my lovely Texan accent, and we made some lemonade, and we were selling lemonade literally like you see it in the movies in our garden for 10 cents. And later that I found out he actually got loads of his business friends to come by and whatever. But myself and my brother, we probably made like $5, and then he took us to the arcade. And he kind of explained to me what you put in is what you get out, and money. And then at that point, I wouldn't say I was hooked on money, but it planted a seed of actually you got to hustle. If you're selling your time for money, that's a job. But if you can sell a product, that's a hustle. And that stuck with me. So that was my first memory, I think, of money was the lemonade stand with my granddad. And I know it sounds cliche and a bit kind of romantic, but it's true. Like, I had fond memories of that. I'm sure there was times before when I was throwing quarters or pennies around the house, but that's when the penny dropped about money.
Nice. And then, but when it came to Bitcoin, sounds like maybe it was the technical aspects of Bitcoin that attracted you more than the kind of store of value aspects.
Yeah, that exactly. So I've always been into computing. When I was at secondary school, I'm 42 now, but when I was at secondary school, so long before Bitcoin, I was always a little shit kind of breaking computers and ruining it for the whole network and whatever, but I was always tinkering and I was just always interested. And when I heard about Bitcoin in 2011, because my house has always looked like this. It's always just been computer crap everywhere. Even now, I had multiple computers laying around, and I thought, well, this looks pretty cool. Let's see what we can do with this. And I was basically just putting computers together just to mine Bitcoin. But then what I was doing, I found actually when my friend came over, I tell him, oh, it's amazing. Can you build me a mining computer? Absolutely. And then I started building miners. So the first thing for me wasn't about, immediately wasn't, this is the money of the future. This is cool. I can put my computer to use and we'll get these magic internet money and see what we can do with it. Because actually, I think it was just before that, there was an internet currency called beans. I don't know if you remember that. Have you heard of that?
I'm not sure I have.
It was like it might be getting some timeline wires crossed, but anyway, it was a referral thing that if you watch a 5-second ad or you do a survey, whatever, you're paid in this internet money called beans. And 250 beans, you get to redeem it for a DVD and whatever. And I remember just hustling and getting all my friends at school to do all this kind of agreeing to all these surveys and crap. And we were basically getting computer games and then selling them at school. But that at that point, it was, yes, internet money equals things. But at that point, I hadn't put two and two together that Bitcoin can equal kind of actually changing the world. But for me, it was very much about the mining and the tinkering and the playing, really.
So were you, I mean, I'm not anywhere near obviously an expert in mining as you are, but were there pools then, or was it always purely solo mining, or?
So at the it was a long time ago. So I was pool mining. No, sorry, I was solo mining. And then at that point, the difficulty was creeping up, and I just had a few kind of CPU kind of setups and whatever. And obviously, very soon GPUs came. But no, there were pools set up then. And actually, I got very bored of solo mining very quickly because not much was happening. I did solo mine a block though. That's the when it was 50 block reward. Damn it.
I'm guessing you probably still don't have those exact Bitcoin.
I 100% disclaimer, do not have those. I don't have them, and to be honest, I didn't have them a week later because I thought, I'll just mine another one.
So that is quite interesting then. So did you sell them? Did you just lose them? Did you?
No, I just lost them. I just thought, that was fun. I got 50. It doesn't matter. Just do it again. And then wow. I just didn't have any kind of, because I didn't put any monetary value to it. I just saw the kind of, for me, it was about the computational generation and the technology behind it that kind of generates them. That's what I found fascinating, not the fact they might be worth something. So, I just lost them. I just didn't, at that point,
You didn't value them. Yeah, you didn't value them. It's the same like if you walk past a 2p piece on the floor, you're not going to pick it up because it's not worth it. A lot of people that discover Bitcoin now would hear what you just said and say, fucking idiot, like why did you think how much it was worth? But at the time, well, yeah, but I always, the way I liken it is it's a kind of risk reward thing. And back then, like Bitcoin wasn't, the likelihood and the risk of it being shut down, breaking, banned, just something else coming along and overtaking and having a wider, broader network, or was much, much higher. So hence it was worth a lot less since people didn't value it as much. So you can't look at 50 Bitcoin now in the same lens as you can look at 50 Bitcoin in 2011 because it's a completely different beast.
I totally agree. And obviously, had I have known it was a source of value like it is today, and had anyone have known, everyone would have hodled or whatever. But it's just because it's evolved and grown and whatever. But the thing is, I look back at that time and I don't regret any Bitcoin that I've lost, any, USB stick over the water on my boat. I don't regret any of that because what it's done is it's taught me everything that I know now. So, everything that we go through is, Jerry Springer moment, everything we go through in life leads us on a path of experience, good, bad, positive, negative, whatever, to where we are now. And actually, had I have not tinkered with with mining and built GPU rigs and bought some early ASICs and profited on those and whatever, I wouldn't have the same kind of respect and passion and understanding of the ecosystem now. So I'm 100% okay with where I am now and the crypto that I've literally lost. Doesn't matter, because actually what I'm doing now, I'm really enjoying passionately where I am now, looking forward.
Yeah, it's interesting. You just used the C word there, not the really rude one, but the second rudest C word, which is crypto.
I meant Bitcoin. I don't dabble in
No. Oh, but again, back in in those early days where your interest in Bitcoin was the technological aspects of it, you could be forgiven, maybe not by everyone in Bitcoin, but you'd certainly be forgiven by me if you said actually you also mined others or explored others just from a technological aspect.
Yeah,
So did you dabble much in that?
I did. I dabbled in everything, and that kind of unfolded for me in about kind of 2013 when I started. That's kind of my memory of when the market started to feel like it was alive a little bit. Obviously, I think 2013. I think Bitcoin was about I think at that point it was about $150 or something. But at that point, like it had started, it was really moving, in comparison to what it was in 2011. And actually, because then at that point I was building GPU rigs and saw very quickly that you can't really mine Bitcoin GPU rigs anymore. So the only option was to then mine shit coins and convert them to Bitcoin. So I was Feathercoin and Digicoin and Doodoo Coin and other crap coins and all the other, purely from a point of view of solo mining these kind of off-grid crap coins and switching them up to Bitcoin, because it gave the GPU rigs I was building some life. But I was never passionate about those coins whatsoever. It was always about converting to Bitcoin at that time.
I've heard Saylor talk about the 51% and saying, well, if a nation state wanted to take 51% of the hash rate, the energy doesn't exist, or by the time you've spent the money to accumulate the equipment and pay for the energy and ruined Bitcoin, effectively you've then lost all the money. There's no incentive for someone to do that. Do you agree with that, or do you have a different view?
So yeah, I have got a different view on that, because it wouldn't be it doesn't need to be so nuclear missile, hit hard once. If you look at the power of Brains, Ant Pool. I'm just going to jump on Mempool quickly. I just want to get the names of the big ones that are just kind of. You got Foundry, Foundry USA, Ant Pool, Spider Pool, Luxor. These. There's names on Mempool that are just block sold, consistent, bang, 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 bang. And it doesn't have to be a state. It can be an organization, or it can be a proxy. It can be lots of little pools filtering through one big pool, which is actually what's happening. So it's not about a nation state doing it. It's the power of many clubbing together can kind of be responsible for that. Does that make sense?
It does, but does the secondary point still hold true though, which is what would be the incentive for them to do that? Because they might just break Bitcoin, and then
so
it defeats the object of what they're doing in the first place.
Yeah, that I agree with, because there's in my opinion, there wouldn't be a financial incentive. Well, it could be a financial incentive. I'll come to that, but there shouldn't be an incentive for an organisation such as Brains Foundry. I'm not picking on anyone in particular. I'm just looking at Mempool now and just reading the consistent block solvers. So no offence, big companies. So that I can't see a real incentive for them to do that, because you're right, it would just set fire to their own roots. From a nation, state actor point of view, you're right. It would take an immense amount of resources to do that, and it would be counterintuitive. And actually, all that would happen is that they crush one blockchain. It wouldn't take much actually for all of the big mining players to fork and pop up and go again. So, so you're right. I don't see that being an issue, but what is a potential issue is if one organisation has 51% control. What's to stop them rolling back the blockchain and then fixing some mistakes that they want to fix? Like, it's pie in the sky and probably never going to happen, but it circles back round to actually every one of us can contribute to that not happening by running a node, solo mining, we mine a block, whatever. So every bit of extra hash rate that we're in control of on the blockchain is a little bit kind of further from kind of centralization. It kind of brings it back home.
Yeah, and in that context, it's probably worth touching on solo mining versus mining in a pool. So, based on what you just said about that risk element, if people are mining within a pool, they could be contributing to that risk. Is that fair? So, whereas if you're solo mining, mining is more altruistic, because the amount of money it costs you versus your likelihood of winning that block is. You've got a very, very small chance with the hash rate of solo mining a block. You can still do it, but you can win the lottery.
It's lottery odds. I agree.
It's probably more than
altruistic.
that, but
Yeah.
I think it's an important point to make, which is doing things altruistically for Bitcoin is what a lot of us do in one way, in many ways, shapes or form. So, if someone isn't able to contribute to, say, the people that work really hard on Bitcoin Policy UK for no money and do great things to try and help Bitcoin adoption and education in the UK, if you're someone who can't or won't do that, you could still spend 150 on a solo Bitcoin miner and plug it in. That's where I'm getting at is, there's still things people can do.
Yeah, of course. And I think it's worth noting as well, actually, that, the ideal in my, in my kind of mining view in 2025, it's very much, the triangle kind of self-sovereignty. It's solo mine to your own pool using your own, on your own wallet, which you hold your keys. And it creates this kind of triangle of kind of self-sovereignty, decentralization. One thing you did touch on, actually. So with mining, yes, we can solo mine, which is, the altruistic kind of, decentralization. But actually, there's nothing stopping us still pool mining. There are lots of, I guess, decentralized pools that have have this altruistic, but basically just a real positive kind of intention. So actually, with lots of like-minded people like us, who might have bit axes or whatever, if we all club together and pool mined, and when one of us mine a block, we share the, split the winnings like pool mining is, that's not necessarily contributing to the massive conglomerate miners. So actually, it's that kind of strength in numbers. It doesn't have to be solo mining. It can be all of us little miners pool mining in our own pool. That makes sense?
How easy is that to set up though? Because if there are those pools available, I'm not aware of them. So either they're just not well advertised or promoted, or actually
there's loads actually. And essentially it's, you need a pool that isn't a proxy. My personal favorite is run by a friend of mine called Owen in the UK. It's called solohash.co.uk. It's open source. He runs it. There's a couple of hundred members on it. Bitcoin. So on his pool, he's got Bitcoin Solo and Bitcoin pool mining, and he's got some other shit coins that I'm not even going to shill. But my point being, it's a UK-based pool. It's not a proxy. He's running it on his own thing. So, there's that, for example. A lot of people swear by Ocean. I can't comment pros and cons on Ocean.xyz. But I know it is, it's well regarded and well respected. That is another iteration, but that's not, I can't comment on its visions or altruism because I don't know. But, there are lots of independent pools out there. But as I said, solohash.co.uk is my go-to.
And how easy is that to set up? So if a group of 10, 20 mates said, let's set up our own pool, how is that? Do you need a lot of technical expertise to do that? Or
when you say set up a pool, or do you mean connect your miner to a pool? Because that's two different things.
I'm saying, let's say that 30 of the people that were at the BSC conference said, wouldn't it be great if we could all collaborate together, share our hash rate? And, how would it take one person that's quite technically adept to set that up? Or
yeah, okay. So there's a couple of ways that these 30 people could do it. These 30 people can all buy a miner. It doesn't matter what it is, a BitAxe or a NerdAxe or a Canon, whatever, or even a coffee warming Bitcoin miner. If everyone has a miner, it's very easy to go into the web interface and point it to a pool. So, I would say, if you've got 30 people that just want to get on and, get mining, just get all of them to point to solohash.co.uk or other pools are available. That's the easiest way to get a miner, connect to your pool, you're done. But if one person says, actually, let's the 30 of us have an exclusive pool that is just for Team BSE or whatever.
Yes.
That's also doable. With that, it's a bit more complicated. I would suggest, actually, the way I do it, I run something called Umbral, which is a really beautiful front-end ecosystem that hosts the Bitcoin core or Bitcoin knots, if that's your thing. Not going to get into that debate, but it holds the Bitcoin blockchain, for argument's sake, and BTC Pay Server and mempool and whatever. But more importantly, it hosts something called Public Pool, which is made by a pal of mine, Ben Wilson. It's a fantastic That's a solo mining pool. That's basically one-click deploy. Before you know it, you've got your own solo mining server, and all of these 30 people, or 29 plus you, can connect to that very easily. And that's easily deployable through Start9 or Umbral, and it's in their app stores. It's called Public Pool. But despite being called Public Pool, it is actually a self-hosted solo server. So what that means is that those 30 people, you're all mining to the same server, but if one of you mines a block, whoever mines a block is getting the winnings. So at that point, so that's the thing. So at that point, you need a very good gentleman's agreement to split it, or you don't, but whatever. But in terms of actually setting up a physical pool, I don't know of any click and deployable options, but I will get back to you. I'll speak to my pal Owen, who set his up, and I know his was a very much click, click, click. Oh, it's done. So it's out there, but I don't know because I've not done that. So if I can, if there's show notes that I can link back to later, then I'll do that. But I do know it is.
Yeah, I just think it's
doable.
It's an interesting thing that a few, at various meetups that we've had and, our Telegram groups, we've kind of batted the idea around because, to your point, I suppose there's the solo mining thing is altruism. It's lottery. There's a lottery chance I could mine a block.
Mm-hmm.
The tagging into Brains or whoever else in the bigger pools, you're going to get something. It will be minutiae of sats, but you'll get something. Whereas it feels like, but there is this risk of, if the pool you're linked into has a nefarious view of something that you don't agree with, you're contributing towards that and this risk to the network. Whereas, if you could find 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 people that you have confidence you're all on you have the same outlook towards Bitcoin and securing the network. So why don't we just find a way to pool our hash rate? We still probably aren't going to mine a block, but there's more chance if there's 50 or up to 100 of us. Yeah, exactly. Strengthening numbers, and actually 50 of you mine a block, that's still quite a lot of Bitcoin to. Yeah. There's a nice amount to win. Exactly. And the vibes in that next meetup would be through the roofs. And maybe, as we'll probably come on to this as well in the conversation around how things can move and evolve and develop really quickly in Bitcoin. To me, as a non-techie person, if someone could develop almost a plug and play type way of creating that would be a brilliant thing for Bitcoin, because there must be pools of people via meetups or whatever that would say, if I had the choice, if I was able to create something and take away trust, so you don't have to trust me that I'll share with you if I win. No, it works like Brains, but we set those rules.
But we own it and we set the rules.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So okay, so duly noted. I've made a note. Literally says plug and play pool mining. Leave that with me. Because actually, if it doesn't already exist, especially on those deployables like Umbral and Start9, it needs to. Because actually, that's a brilliant idea. I went to a London meetup last year, and actually the same thing was raised. It was a comment that I overheard. I wasn't part of the conversation, and it was something along the lines of, "Wouldn't it all be great if we were all in here mining together right now?" I was like,
yeah.
So I think there's merit to that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it would encourage more people, if there is the mythical group of 20 people at a meetup, 10 of them are mining together in a pool. The other 10 that haven't got a miner are more likely to buy one and plug into it because they want to be part of that. Yeah, it's a bit like, it's completely different, but like the analogy I was going to give was, there's 10 people in an office, 5 of them buy a lottery ticket every month as a pool.
Yeah,
the other 5 are probably going to sign up because they don't want to miss out. It's that. But it's almost the altruistic aspect of Bitcoin.
Okay. Well, how about this
anyway?
So actually on this, I will get this done. I will create and make sure that there is a deployable, an easy setup option. So the next conference next year will be, your pool will be up and running for your conference. And then, if you want to have a screen in the foyer with your pool stats, why not?
That would be amazing. Yeah, why not? Let's do it. That would be really fun.
All right, leave that with me.
It'd be really fun.
I will get that done.
Yeah, if you can get it done by next Wednesday, please have it on my desk for 9 o'clock in the morning, please.
I'll move it up my to-do list.
Yeah, exactly. The other question, and we this was touched on a bit at the conference, but I think it's an interesting conversation to talk about what makes the UK particularly, what challenges does the UK have, both good and bad, in terms of the challenges with very high electricity pricing. That means that UK is quite a unique space when it comes to trying to overcome those challenges for Bitcoin mining.
Yeah, so I battle with this often. I have, through my firm, the Solar Mining Co., I have this conversation with people daily. Basically, what's the point and how am I going to make any money? And you're right. With the UK power prices, we're on almost 30p a kilowatt hour. And which, it's the layman's terms, if you have a 1 kilowatt Bitcoin miner, that's going to cost you 30 pence an hour to run. Just 30p per kilowatt. If it's 500 watt, it'd be half the price, and so on. So, when you have something like a BitAxe, for example, so this is a 1.2 terahash unit that sits at about 25 watt. At that point, you think, well, actually, that's no more than charging a phone. So, I'll get onto that in a minute, but circling back round, we have a massive problem that, in terms of kind of commercial mining, unless you've got solar or wind or hydro or, you own bloody windmills in the ocean, I can't see how it's actually financially viable for anybody who's paying like full tariff rates on their, home domestic electricity bills to be able to mine. So the thing is, what's interesting though, is that there was a time, I want to say about 4 years ago, that you could write off your electricity bill against Bitcoin mining in the UK. And that is no longer a thing. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah, funnily enough.
Just like a rental property could write their mortgage off as a business expense. You can't do that anymore. So, so it's very difficult. So at home personally, I've got about an acre of solar where I live. I'm very fortunate. I have a nice bit of land, and I've invested in solar with the pure intention of Bitcoin mining. And what that allows me to do is that because I have solar, and things you don't need an acre of solar. I have a ton of solar, and what it means is that I can run a lot of Bitcoin miners. And yes, I should be doing more pool mining than I do. I like to do solar mining, but any crypto that I may or may not generate is coming from the sun through my miners and into my wallet. So, I think if you are paying 30p a kilowatt hour to run a miner that's going to generate 20p in Bitcoin a day, that doesn't make sense, does it? However, off the record, it is non-KYC Bitcoin. You're not going to Coinbase, you're not buying, you are generating and stuff. But, disclaimer, do your own research on taxes, because I do know that there is tax implications on Bitcoin mined now in the UK. So, yeah, do your own research on that, but just be mindful that it's not tax-free when you come to sell it. So, yeah, we have a massive problem. And actually, with every problem, on the other side of the problem coin, there's an opportunity coin, or a potential to solve a problem, which is why I'm really kind of set on advocating for this kind of ethos now for Bitcoin mining, especially in the UK market and the other kind of expensive power countries. For Bitcoin mining to succeed in the home, it needs to have utility, so a byproduct, which is heat, or be beautiful. And the beautiful thing, like a BitAxe, as much as I love them, they're not beautiful. They're not gorgeous things.
They're cool, but they're not beautiful.
They're not. Yeah. They're not. Let's leave this on the desk and look great. Can you? Am I out of shot here? Can you see this over here?
Yeah. I can't quite. No.
Just stand by. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you something. This is something that I had the privilege of designing. This is like awful me off on and off camera. So this is called the BitAxe Touch. You can see that. So in here is a BitAxe, touchscreen when it loads up in a sec, clock, stop, Bitcoin price, hash rate when it comes to life, and so on. So this is something that I designed, aluminium case, glass touchscreen, whatever. But the reason why I'm showing you this, that sitting on my desk with utility, the utility on this is Bitcoin price, what the mempool's doing, time, whatever. Still a BitAxe. That's a BitAxe. What one looks more beautiful?
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't the most beautiful thing in the world, but my point being is that for it to be accepted by the husbands and wives who are not into the cool stuff, it needs to look lovely on a shelf. Which this thing here, this is called Mine Coffee. This is a new 1 terahash Bitcoin miner that literally, this is a solid block of Ali. The purpose being, you put your coffee on it, it keeps your coffee warm. USB-C, sits on a desk, 30 watt. You're not going to notice it on your electricity bill. English walnut, alley top. It's a Bitcoin miner, but it's also a coffee warmer. And this is not me trying to shilling. I'm not trying to sell this. My point being is that is not that. I sold one of these to someone at BTC Vegas last year to chief of police of Nevada who wanted one on his desk just so his superior just wouldn't know he was Bitcoin mining, a bit tongue in cheek. But again, my point being, for it to thrive in the home, it needs to look great or have utility. So yes, we have challenges in the UK, the cost of electricity, but the opportunities are actually, if there's a way to design around that and kind of use that as a design constraint, well, actually, that's what I love. But that's what I'm passionate about, designing these products that allow people in the UK, in Europe, all over the world, who don't want enormous industrial miners, who don't have solar panels or whatever, to be part of this adventure. I'm going to use the word adventure because it is an adventure. We are everyone says all so early, but we are. Like, this is the infancy of the internet, in terms of, where we are with crypto. It's just started. We've got millennia of digital money, of Bitcoin. And actually, like, everybody needs to be part of this. So kind of circling back around to what you said, with this thing, you can pull mine or solo mine. But actually, if you want to acquire some sats, let's join it to your super pool that we're going to create. Once we have enough miners on there and your pool mines a block, your work will be rewarded and you will get non-KYC sats directly to your wallet. So yeah, we have problems, but we also have opportunities.
I think we also, in this country, at certain times of the year, where we probably spend a lot of money plugging in electric heaters and things. And again, the byproduct of mining is heat. So
absolutely,
why not actually generate heat that you want anyway? We won't go into it deeply now, but maybe off air or another point I might talk to you, because I brew kombucha, and at the moment I use kind of heated strips that go around the fermenting vessels to keep them warm. Mostly because a Bitcoin miner would be too noisy because I brew it in the house. Yeah, my dream is for Bitcoin Booch, which would basically be solar panels, brewing shed in the garden, miners heating that room, and then but yeah, that's, maybe we can collaborate on that and
I've already got
work out how to do it. Perfect. I know you have, but
okay. Well, let's we can dive into that as this conversation progresses, if you wish. But something I touched on at your conference actually was something that I've had a patent granted for, which I can now talk about. It's about heat recovery with Bitcoin. So what it is, obviously in the UK, most of us have wet radiator systems. Do you have radiators in your house with the water pipe everywhere? Fine.
Yeah.
So what it is, inline unit, there's two options. Inline unit, it's a box about the size of a shoebox that basically radiator water in your box, radiator water out. Within this system is a 1500 watt heating element, and the heating element is literally, excuse me 1 second, the heat sink that is on the back of a mining board. That's not the exact heat sink, so you can't copy that one. That sits in the water flow path, and the 1500 watt that's emitting from the Bitcoin, the hash board, is being displaced directly into the water and being pumped off around the central heating system. So what that allows you to do in the summer, you could just run that box without your central heating system on, and the box will turn on your water pump to get some water going. But you won't, if you touch a radiator, you're not going to feel it. But there's enough water in your system to cool that thing down without heating your house up. In the winter, you run your central heating system, be it gas or oil or whatever you run, and then you add that. What this is doing, this is reducing the workload of your boiler by 1500 watt in exchange for Bitcoin, essentially non-KYC sats. So, in terms of heat recovery, what's really kind of wonderful, depending on who you ask, but what I think is wonderful about Bitcoin mining, no matter what the unit is, this BitAxe is pulling, about 25 watt. what's coming out of this heatsink is about 25 watt. They are almost 100% heat efficient. So the, I've got a couple running in my garage at the moment, kind of on test. They are 1600 watt Canon Avalon Qs, about 90 terahash. They're 1600 watt. There's literally 1600 watt of heat coming out the back end of that. So yeah, heat recovery, I think, is a massive, massive deal. With the system that I've just mentioned, the water in, water out system, the same thing is being adapted for inline hot tub heating, and it absolutely can be adapted and actually wound down. You probably don't want a 1500 watt of kombucha heating, but you could use the same principle with a water spiral system. Of a flexible tube that wraps around. I'm just kind of hypothetically thinking here.
Yeah.
Passing hot water or warm water through a spiral around your tube. But essentially, water, pump, heat exchanger. They're the kind of the three ingredients for that. And the thing is, in the UK, we all need heating. A lot of us have got the privilege of underfloor heating or aircon, ground source heat pumps, hot tubs, central heating, radiators, or even just convection heaters. 8 things that I've just listed are all things that actually potentially could be fueled by the Bitcoin mining kind of process. And I think now we're in a really wonderful kind of age of kind of innovation in the Bitcoin space, especially if we have the kind of magic ingredients that are really expensive kind of power costs in the UK, plus accessible renewables that are becoming more and more efficient, plus Bitcoin in everyone's, not even in their peripherals, it's in everyone's face. It's on the news. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone knows someone that knows something about Bitcoin. It's here. So I think with all of the with all these ingredients, there is like amazing innovation brewing and about to explode in the whole home mining space, and all of it comes back to utility or something that looks great.
Yeah, and I think it's just I guess the ideas and the technology and the execution all catching up, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then the thing is, I've got several friends that work for Dyson, and even they're looking at it like,
wow,
it's kind of like it shows that actually stuff's coming.
I went to Bitcoin Prague 2025 and I absolutely loved it. It's back again. If you're looking at going, use code GaryBTC at checkout for 10% off your tickets. Do you think it'll ever get to the point where there are subsidized products? So hear me out on this, right? You sell me a heater, which is cheaper than a normal heater because I have to connect it to my Wi-Fi, and you collect the sats that it produces. So I'm paying, as a consumer, I'm paying less money for a product that heats my room, on the proviso that I connect it to my Wi-Fi, and then because you've sold it, you've effectively subsidized the cost of it because you're going to be taking the hash rate off of that product. And even commercially, you could imagine big commercial heaters in warehouses that are required, and actually you say, right, well, we'll give you them for free, but you then
run them, basically.
you run them. If they break down, we'll come and fix them for free, because basically there's a few little chips in there which you don't need to worry about, but that need to be connected to your internet. But other than that, you can have the machine for free and we'll maintain it for free.
I think that's a really interesting concept. There's two parts of my brain going, absolutely not, it's a terrible idea, and the other half's going, absolutely brilliant. I'll start with that's a terrible idea first. But I've already decided the terrible idea doesn't matter because it's a fantastic idea. The terrible idea is, well, actually, how much does a space heater cost from Argos or Sainsbury's or whatever, like an oil filled radiator, like 20 quid or whatever, screw fix. Yeah. You're not going to get a 1 kilowatt Bitcoin miner that's going to generate anything for 20 quid. So there's that. So even if if this Bitcoin mining 1 kilowatt radiator was 500 quid, is the supplier ever going to make 480 quid back in Bitcoin? Probably not. So that's the terrible idea. However, now, so you go big industrial. The cost of big industrial will be the infrastructure, will be, the huge fans, the heat exchanging. Let's think massive hotel. Every hotel has hot air ducts going into the room. So rather than having a heater in every room, you have per floor, like a hotel room is written off because it just has this heating system in it. That's the cost. And actually, if you had a modular system that had Bitcoin mining blades, so another product I've worked on has a blade system that lets you slide hash blades in. So as those blades break or get out of date, take old blade out that runs at 60 terahash, put new blade in that runs at 200 terahash. You don't have to do anything else. So then you're keeping on top of your revenue. And the thing is, anything like this scales in economy. So your 20 quid Screwfix radiator to Doris down the road in the nursing home, you're probably not gonna. That's probably going to be a no-go. But you need to talk to someone like the Hilton, who have got a 70-story hotel, and they want to put one on every floor. Then you might be getting somewhere because you're doing it, in scale of economy. So I think it's got legs. Whether it would work in the UK, I don't know, just because the cost of electricity. Obviously, if you take the kilowatt hour cost of electric versus the BTU gas equivalent of energy, I think gas trumps electricity substantially. So, a central heating system in the UK, most of them are natural gas. Mine here is heating oil, but that's by the by. My point is, it's not electric. So, unless the electric companies, get their bloody shackles put on and something so greedy, I don't think it's viable in the UK, but I definitely think it's viable in countries with cheaper electricity. Go to, the Swedens, or I'm sure Sweden, they've got a lot of hydro generation. They have, it's either Sweden or, anyway, it's one of them, really cheap electricity because they generate it with basically their own geothermal, their own hydro. So when you've got that in mind, when the source electricity is cheaper, then it becomes viable. So I think it's a fantastic idea. Would it work in the UK? Not sure. Would it work on scale globally? 100%.
Yeah, particularly if you could adapt existing machinery to incorporate.
Yeah.
Again, you could even go to a Hilton and say, look, we're going to pay you X a month to put these things in here that don't affect the efficiency of your machines whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so you're subsidizing their energy usage, but you're doing it at a 2 pence per kilowatt hour equivalent, hence you're mining Bitcoin efficiently. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's all these things which, you can think about and conceptualize, but it still takes quite a lot of infrastructure and commercial conversations. But I guess it will all come.
And the thing is, that's what I'm saying. We are very much, I'm not a fan of this phrase, we're so early, but we are. And the thing is, this whole ecosystem is in its infancy, and it's got so much potential to boom, and it is booming.
Yeah.
And actually, something else that I'm working on, and I'll talk about this, is that it's around the Bitax ecosystem. And this whole thing will be open source because that is the ethos of Bitax. It's a 12-volt cigarette lighter mining system that plugs into your car. And actually, if we can drive along and get a terahash of mining that we connect to your super pool that we're going to build for you, let's say 1 million cars on the road that have one of these plugged into the cigarette lighter, and then very quickly you've got 1 million more, Bitaxes on the road. Actually, very quickly, that's no cost to the home because you're driving. It could be argued that your alternator is going to work harder and you're going to burn more fuel, but actually that's nonsense. So, there's so many little outlets and avenues for accessible power that it's exciting. I'm really I'm excited about all the potentials.
Yeah, or you get a little windmill on the top of your car that spins around and.
Yeah, well, so I'd love to, once I've had a glass of wine, I will do the mathematics on it actually of the aerodynamic drag a fan that size. Well, actually, how big the fan would need to be to generate 40 watt to allow you to have some headroom, but actually the drag that it would create on the car and how much more fuel you'd use. Actually, would it be more efficient to not have that and just save the money and buy sats, or could you generate enough to warrant it? It'd be a fun experiment. In fact, I might not even do that. I might get ChatGPT to do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
The other thing, going back to the horrible, the second rudest C word in the English language, because some of the mining rewards for crypto are higher, with the people that you talk with in the mining space, is it quite common that a miner would decide to mine crypto to then, because it's cheaper than mining Bitcoin because of the hash rate, etc., to then just swap back in? I mean, it's a bit of a shit show because that is the case. But is that something that still is fairly common?
Yeah, it is actually. So, I probably sell. Well, I sell quite a few of these. Most of the people they'll want to run their own node, solo mine into it, whatever. But every day I have a question. Oh, what other coins can I mine? Can I mine Ethereum? Can I? It's like, no, and I have to go back to can I only mine a SHA-256 coin? Anyway, and they all say, oh, Bitcoin's so difficult. And I said, well, look, the question I always ask people is, what do you want out of this? Oh, I want to earn some money. I said, well, then do what's right for you. If you want to earn some, if you want to earn some money, don't buy a Bitcoin miner. Buy Bitcoin. Stack sats. Oh, but I want to mine. Fine, buy a Bitcoin miner and mine what makes you happy. But what's interesting though is that they all of them that I've spoke to. So I was mining some Bitcoin 2, and I was mining some Digibyte and some other crap coin. I just bought Bitcoin and now I'm holding the Bitcoin. It's like, well done. They all come back to that because they just realize they see actually Bitcoin is just up, and it's up and down and whatever. But it's the one. It is the one that everyone's talking about. It is, it's why we're talking now. It's like it is the OG, cryptocurrency, and they all come back to it. But I don't ever discourage anyone from learning, because actually, going back to what I said earlier in kind of 2011, 2012, 2013, I was mining whatever I could mine with my hardware, because actually the Bitcoin difficulty got so high, especially on pool mining and solo mining. It was just like, oh, this isn't doing anything. Like I want something out of it. So I would mine altcoins and then sell them and stack Bitcoin. So people mine. Everyone has a unique relationship with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and it's what's right for them. But I wholeheartedly encourage everyone, when I'm talking to potential customers, buy a miner and solo mine to it. It's like a lottery ticket. I'm here to help you set it up, whatever. But that is the kind of ethos of Bitcoin. Oh, but I want to earn some money. I said, fine, join a pool. How much am I going to earn? About 3p a day. Well, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Save £100 and buy some Bitcoin. So it's I'm completely honest with them. But like it always comes back to Bitcoin at the end of the day.
Is it? I presume the answer to this is no. Otherwise, everyone will be doing it. But is there a crypto that you can mine that allows you to effectively mine that crypto and then exchange for sats that's cheaper than the cost in electricity? I.e., you effectively get Bitcoin for
At a
cheaper than it
preferable
is
rate.
to.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So regarding the cost of electricity, this thing I refer to this is about 25 watt, regardless if I'm mining Bitcoin, BC2,
Yeah.
whatever. It's still
Whatever.
25
Yeah.
watt. So essentially, the way to look at it is wattage per coinage, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
What-
Yeah.
so essentially, if you get in early to one of these shit coins, yes, you can make a lot of money in terms of, so one that's kind of in the forefront of my mind at the moment, it's called BC2, Bitcoin 2. It's I just stumbled across it. In fact, it's on solohash.co.uk now. I'm not advocating for it because I don't care about it. But my point is that when it was kind of appeared in the pool a couple of months ago, you could with a BitAx, people were getting a block a day, which is fantastic. At the time, it was fuck all money. It was like 2p for a block. Now that coin is $1.50. So that's 70. So what these people were mining with this 2 months ago is worth $75 a day at the time. So in answer to your question, yes, there are like actually good opportunities, but they come and go so quickly. So now already,
Yeah.
like that ship is sailed. Even though the price is holding at $1.50, the difficulty's gone so high because everybody's doing it. Well, actually, it's on parity now with just mining Bitcoin. So they always level out to what Bitcoin is doing. But if you want to mine shitcoins, you just got to get in early and hope for the best.
Yeah, which is the same as buying shit coins.
Absolutely.
It's a you've got risk of rug pull, you've got risk of, because the thing
100%.
is even if you're mining these shit coins that on the face of it might mean you can get more sats for your pounds and just buying sats with your pounds. But if in the process of doing that mining, Bitcoin rips and the shit coin, gets rug pulled, well, you've basically just wasted your electricity.
Absolutely that. It's exactly the same thing. You're either, losing your money you spent on said shitcoin or losing the money you spent on electric.
Yeah.
So it's all a gamble.
Yeah, you've basically got to get lucky. There isn't if there was an arbitrage, a genuine arbitrage by
Everybody would be doing it. It wouldn't be arbitrage anymore because it always levels back out to Bitcoin.
Yeah. And that was another question I had to you around the hash rate. The fact that the hash rate does keep going up for Bitcoin and I don't know what it is right now. You can probably tell me off the top of your head, but the global hash rate that has just been going up exponentially, does that help or hinder development of mining products and mining solutions for for the home and all those kind of things? Because I can kind of see it from both sides.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it helps or hinders, and the reason why I say that because it becomes that necessity is a mother of invention. I love that saying. What it's doing as the difficulty goes up, Bitcoin mining becomes harder. The Bitcoin miners have to become more efficient. Shoot upstream to the Bitmains and the Watts miners and the Canans that are manufacturing the chips. They have to make more efficient chips, and which means we as makers that rip the chips off and put them into bit axes, we get more economical chips, etc., etc. So it's this kind of this chicken and egg thing. But you're right, it is getting exponentially more difficult. And what that means from a mining point of view is that the more difficult the algorithm becomes, the less chance we have of mining a block. So, for example, if I had this is 1.2 terahash. If I had this 10 years ago, this would generate me about $5,000 a day in today's money. Now, honestly, about 2 or 3 pence. Like, it's kind of like basically, don't buy this, buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So,
because it might. Yeah. Sorry, I was going to say the amount of electricity it costs you versus even if you're in a pool, you're still not really making any money, are you?
Even running this at 25, 30 watt, you are losing money on this every day. Unless you solo mine a block, it's the same as unless you win the lottery, then you're laughing. But actually, you're not going to make your money back on this. That's why I encourage people, do it from an educational point of view, to learn about it, to tinker with it, take it apart, whatever, or run your own node and support the network. You're not going to get rich Bitcoin mining with one of those in the UK, unless you have loads of solar power and hydro and whatever. But yeah, and answer your question, the difficulty is there's no sign of it slowing down. And as it goes up and up and up, the rewards or the chances of pools mining blocks just becomes smaller and smaller. But wouldn't it be great to take this back 10 years, 15 years?
Oh yeah, wouldn't it? Although if you'd mined it, you'd have just not bothered anyway because it wasn't worth anything.
Yeah, quite. Yeah, absolutely. What's just really quickly, what's really interesting, in 2014, I think, or maybe 15, I bought something called a KNC Jupiter. It was about the size of a desktop PC. It's an enormous thing. It cost me, it was at 8,500. It was 500 gigahash. At the time, 500 gigahash at the time was generating I'd say about 10 Bitcoin a month. And actually, because the way I like to work, I was building miners and selling miners. I was a guy selling the shovels in the gold rush. I bought the miner, shoved it on eBay, straight away sold it for 12 grand. Thanks very much. 5 grand, la la la. Spoke to the guy 2 months later. He'd mined 15 Bitcoin and then sold the unit for 12 grand. I was like, shit. But that was 500 gigahash for that one bit of kit. This is 2.5 times the power in one chip, which is immense. But it just shows the exponential growth. So yeah, the difficulty exponentially shooting up. So is innovation.
Yeah. So are there any other areas you wanted to cover off in terms of mining? Because again, you're such a hive of information and power of passion that I don't want to kind of leave without covering off all the kind of aspects that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else I want to particularly say. I'll happily answer questions all day long. What I don't want to do is sit here talking about all the stuff that I sell, because that's not what I'm about. The crap that I sell is actually an accident. And if you want, I'll tell you the story of the solo mining co for a laugh. But, back to your question about kind of anything on mining, not particularly, other than I would just highly suggest that, I think those being into and enthusiastic about Bitcoin, I really feel we all have a responsibility to run a node and actually solo mine to it. And yes, we are essentially just passive supporters in the background. But when one of us finds a block, well, that's set in history. At that point, we have taken a decentralized bit of hardware, self-sovereign hardware with our own, own node, our own pool, and we've taken that block away from the big boys. But I feel like we all have a responsibility to do that. But obviously, not everyone can afford to do that, and it's it's a big investment. Yeah, I don't really want to talk about. There's nothing more that I need to physically or want to say. But as I said, I'll answer questions all day long.
Do you think the running node and mining? My view is, as someone who isn't a computer geek, techno bro, I'm not sure it's always cost. I think there is, in certain pockets of Bitcoin, there's an assumption that you just got to do it, but actually, it's not plug and play, is it? It's not like turning on an iPad and you're running the bit.
Yeah, see, unfortunately, you're mistaken now. So I'm going to shill Umbral and start 9 again. And actually, I'm gonna kind of more so. I'm gonna more. Can I share a screen on this?
Yeah, probably.
Let me see if I can do this without.
I don't know if I need to give you permission or not.
All right. Well, we can give it a go. I'll flag up in a minute. So basically, I'm a real fan of something called Umbral. I've mentioned Umbral a few times. Umbral literally looks like the Apple ecosystem. It's absolutely beautiful. And the nodes that I sell, I've written a guide on how to pre-install Umbral on basically any computer. And the nodes that I sell come pre-installed with Umbral. You literally plug it in, and on the instruction things, it says go to your web browser and type umbral.local, and it pops up, and you're done. That's all you need to do, because I've done all the dog work. And even the dog work is just USB stick in, boot from USB, install, done. Like, it's not, 5 years ago, it was you have to install Linux, Bitcoin Core, and this, and it was horrible. But with Umbral now, it's just beautiful. Let me see if I can share my screen.
Yeah, so effectively while you're doing that, and
you see that?
It's working. Yeah, and hopefully that will come.
So,
I haven't had this before on my podcast, so hopefully this comes up on YouTube. If not, they're just still looking at us talking.
I hope it comes up. But anyway, so this is Umbral. And what Umbral, so, it has an app store. Umbral is a dedicated computer. They're little kind of, the ones I sell, little kind of IBM or Lenovo Think Center things. They're tiny little things. And with this, you can put like tons and tons of stuff on here. I'm just going to bring up the App Store. So if you want to run it in a Bitcoin ecosystem, you can. If you want to put Home Assistant on there, or DNS filtering, or a Plex server, your own Google Drive, your own Google Photos, all of the kind of fun stuff that you want, you can do all that. But it has been designed with essentially Bitcoin in mind. And you can see there's tons of stuff in their App Store. It's all open source as well, which is wonderful. But, so on here, for example, I've got my own instance of mempool. I've got public. So this is my own instance of public pool. And this is a solo server. Ironically, I've got nothing pointing to it at the moment for other reasons. But if I had all of my Bitcoin miners, I could point all of my miners to this IP address, which is my local IP address of this node. And then I would be solo mining to my own stuff. You can check out what the blockchain is doing. And this is really lovely, actually. It's called Bitfeed. So as transactions come in, you can kind of just basically visualize the blockchain. It's just kind of eye candy. More importantly, though, Bitcoin node, BTC Pay server lets you take Bitcoin payments from anywhere in the world, embed it on your website, whatever. Lightning nodes, self-hosted wallet, which you can then access from your phone. So again, it's all decentralized. Nostr Relay, Tailscale, a VPN provider, and so on. On that, I highly recommend you look at Umbral, because it's literally click, install, done, and it's just beautiful. You can see it's beautiful. It's really nicely designed. This is my own instance of mempool. I won't go into any of the wallets because there's nothing in there, and it's just really depressing. So it's just empty, barren wasteland. But yeah, you get the idea. So that's so
basically, anyone who has the view, I'm prepared to invest some money, but I'm not technically astute enough, that's just simply not true.
100%. And one thing I will say, so on my site, I do sell nodes pre-installed. I will wholeheartedly recommend any of you to go onto eBay and just type in mini PC, buy something with a 2 terabyte hard drive, not a rotary, so you want an M2 or an SSD, just as quicker. Minimum of i5, 16 gig of RAM, 2 terabyte M2 or SSD drive. It costs you about 200 quid. Done. You don't need to buy anything from me. I've on my website, the solomining.co, at the very bottom support link, there is takes you to a manual that tells you how to install Umbral on a little mini PC, step by step. Do it. You've got no excuse. I've written the manual. Umbral's free. It's absolutely beautiful, and you can install it on any computer. It can be an old crap laptop. It doesn't matter. So no excuses.
I've got a confession to make, which is I've bought said computer. I just haven't set it up yet. But
come on, man.
But like, you're going to disagree with me, but I think my excuse is I've been
busy.
I've been busy sorting out a conference and trying to do a podcast and brew kombucha and a full-time job and family. But it is still on my to-do list, and it will happen.
Good. I'm here if you need some help.
Great. So conscious that I've kept you for over an hour and you're slightly under the weather, but you're battling on bravely. The last question I ask all my guests is, what's one belief you held before Bitcoin that you've completely changed your mind about?
Can I give you an answer to something that actually, since Bitcoin, has reinforced my belief because of Bitcoin?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, why not?
Always leave something in it for somebody else. With that, with the Bitcoin ecosystem and the nodes and the miners and whatever, you may have noticed, but I've told you not to buy that, and I've told you not to buy my node. Go and buy your own node. You know, I don't care. I literally don't care about selling these for profit. I want everybody to benefit from this Bitcoin adventure that we're all on, and I'm here to support that, not profit from that. So, you know, that kind of saying actually came from my granddad, you know, the lemonade stand granddad. Always leave something in it for someone else. And actually, since Bitcoin, that has really strengthened that, and that's something that I really live by. And actually, one other little fun saying that I love: 2 rules to success in life. Rule number 1: never reveal everything you know.
I'm not going to ask you what rule number 2 is, because I realise that's the joke.
So yeah, I can't answer your question right now, but I hope actually those 2 little snippets have
definitely
given you an insight to my mind.
Definitely, and I think that first comment that you made, I think there's a lot of people. We touched on this a bit earlier with Bitcoin Policy UK folk. You know, there's a lot of people who do things for Bitcoin and within Bitcoin just for the benefit of the network and for almost altruistically, just to help other people, and because of the passion and the conviction and almost wanting to give back for what Bitcoin's given to them. And there's so many people in the space that are like that. I mean, you have to be careful. You know, it's interesting. I've had conversation with Susie, who is my favorite Bitcoiner. And you're my second favorite, maybe.
Thanks, man. Sorry, Russ.
Yeah, sorry, Russ. But she always says you have to be careful that just because Bitcoin is great, it can still attract people who maybe don't have the same.
Of course.
So yeah, I think as Bitcoiners we have to be careful and a bit guarded, and not just to trust someone who says they're a Bitcoiner, because you have to. The analogy, the example I gave to Susie was, you know, Catholic priests, which goes a bit darker, but
say no more.
So we're not, you know, not going to quite go down that route, but yeah. So, but I think you're right. You know, doing Bitcoin almost not forces. Bitcoin encourages you to not have the fiat mindset and to actually want to give and share for the goodness of what it is, because there isn't a CEO that's benefiting from it. There's not a company, there's not a marketing team that are trying to influence what you're saying. Bitcoin is what Bitcoin is. And if Bitcoin gets better, stronger, the network grows, more people understand it, then we all benefit. So it's a beautiful thing.
Great. Totally.
And to bring it back round to the conference where we started, really, you know, I think that was very true at the conference. You know, people like, well, all of the speakers that came and the people that bought tickets to come and support it, and me and Jace trying to organise it, an accountant and it sounds like a bad joke, doesn't it? An accountant and a teacher decided to run a Bitcoin conference, you know, and so, you know, but the whole thing came together in a way that really we couldn't have hoped for, really. But it's and bring on next year for more of the same, hopefully.
Actually, one thing I'd like to kind of finish with on that is that it came from passion. And actually, when something comes from passion, true colours shine, and only good comes from that. You nailed it.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, it was, and I think I've said this before, but I'll repeat it again. Is for me, it came from I was on the Spaces on the Monday night Spaces that the Bitcoin Collective guys did a while back, and Pete McCormack was on it, and he answered a question of mine.
But is it Jez who runs that?
Ashley Giles.
Yeah,
Jez. So Pete McCormack was on it, and he made a comment about that Bitcoin doesn't actually fix anything. It needs people to take action. They may use Bitcoin within that to help try and fix a problem, but Bitcoin isn't going to fix the world on its own. And that just kind of smacked me in the face. And I was like, right, fuck it. I'm starting a podcast. What can I do to contribute? I'll just start a podcast and hopefully people will want to talk to me. And then it's great because I get to speak to Bitcoiners under the guise of being a podcast host, even though I'm just some bloody nobody accountant from Suffolk. But hey, and I said to Jace, who'd started the Suffolk Bury St Edmunds meetups in 2012, I'm like, fuck it, Jace, we got to do a conference because who else is going to do it? Who else is going to do a conference in Bury St Edmunds? No one. So let's let it be me and you, because let's just make something happen. And I think that's, without trying to, I'm not the kind of person that does, I would blow my own trumpet if I could, but I've tried, it's too difficult. But it's, I think,
yoga,
but I think it's just, it's great when you take a punt on something and it kind of, and you say you've got the passion, got the energy behind it, and it's just a good thing. So yeah.
So cool. Same time next year.
Well, it's a little bit earlier next year, but yeah, 12th of September, and hopefully you'll make it to the dinner the night before this time as well.
I will be there, 100%.
In that case, really Russ will be there too. We won't keep him away. Yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, well, nothing more to say really other than, so let's have a little shill for your company then. So if people want to find your business or find you on X, where would people hunt you down?
Okay, so I run the solomining.co. I did touch on that. That's the logo up there, the little flashy thing. The Solo Mining Co. I'm on X as Dunc or IMGPIO even. The solo, basically just search the Solo Mining Co. You'll find it. But I'm always on X. I've got WhatsApp on my website as well. So if you've got any questions, I'm usually glued to my phone. I'm about to help. And actually, one thing I want to say, I never intended to ever run the Solo Mining Co. I've got two young teenage boys, well, they're not young anymore, but at the time they were like, Dad, let's just start a website and earn some money. I was like, all right, come on then. So I had a load of Bitcoin mining hardware. I said, well, I understand Bitcoin. Let's create a website. And then overnight, Solo Mining Co. was created. Here we are now. They've lost interest and I'm stuck with a website.
Wow. That's pretty cool, though. That's quite a cool story.
Yeah, it's fun. It's good fun. I use it as a platform to, make and create and whatever. But, my kids couldn't give a shit now.
Thanks so much for being on, Dunc. It's great to speak to you again. And I hope to see you before 12th of September next year. But if not, I'll see you then.
Well, actually, on that, let me know when there's a decent one to come up for, and I will happily come up the night before and join one of your events and have a few beers. Let me know.
Nice. Well, we are. This is a semi-exclusive, but let's just say there might be something going on for Pizza Day in Bury St Edmunds next year. So that's in May, because we've now got a pizzeria in town that accepts Bitcoin. So how can you not have Pizza Day in a location where there's somewhere that So
let me know.
I'll keep you posted. Great. All right. Thanks, Dunc. Thanks again. And get well soon. You've been battling through. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm going to go sit on my sofa and have wine and pass out.
Nice. Great. All right. Thanks again. Speak to you soon. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.